by memory. Mesmery, all alone in the moonlight. And it works like so. You have 7 parts, and I'm going to label them A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Okay.
And then the first 6 parts are worth 14 points each.
Okay.
And the last part, which is a scale, is worth 16 points. It's just a little bit more.
Okay.
And that equals 100 points.
Mhm.
If you like, you could say what the thing you are doing is. You can like each step and say what it is. Some people like that because it reminds them what they're doing. Keeps them on track. So once you tune, we could start right away on it. She looks so lonely.
So sad.
So sad. Okay, so part 1, go ahead. I could see you from the,
Monitor.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next. Good. Next one. Good. Next one.
Should I do the extracurricular one after everything, or should I
Which one?
the feather bow?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Awesome. Next one. Next one. Okay. Okay, last one.
Should I choose any scale?
Oh, right. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so here is a random number generator. I'm going to press this button, and it's set from 0 to 11, 0 being C, 1 D flat, D is 2, and then the last one, B, is 11. A flat is 8, for example. Number 9, so I guess that's, yeah, no, that's A major. A major, number 9. Because if 11's B, then B flat is 10, and 9 is A.
Okay. I don't think that one's memorized, so
Well, you want to just
try it.
try it.
Okay.
So, remember when you get to the A string, the last octave is always 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, but in A major, the middle octave has a special fingering, and that's all I can tell you. Okay. Good, you did a very nice job. The extra point saved you. I want you to don't tell anybody about the extra points. Don't remind them. Because you're the first one that has done it. So I hate for you to like lose. I mean, I hate for the others to you know, they're friends, so I don't want you to stab them in the back or be mean to them. But they should remember on their own, and no one has remembered up to now. So don't tell them. But it would have helped, because you got 5 off for the scale because it was just a shaky. But you did well in the way of like you figured out the fingering, but it kind of confused you. There was some shakiness there. That was 5 off, but everything else you did really well. So because of that, you got 100 because it was everything was really well done. You would have had 105, but 100's good enough, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Congratulations. Very good job. 1 second. Now this system, it could be expanded how do we expand it? Well, where do we expand it, etc. Well, the beginning, you could expand it. So, for example, you could place your bow. Let's go through each step and how we expand them. You could place your bow at the tip on the bridge, and then go across. This is like the most extreme that you're ever going to be, right? And why do we do this? Well, we need to learn how do we move with our body, with the cello, right? So maybe move the hips a little bit, you know, like, see my hips? Move that way. Can you try? Right. So maybe we have to do a little of that. Play at the frog. This is more comfortable. At the frog. And here it's kind of fun to put your pinky on the top of the stick and use the pinky and index finger and thumb to help navigate across. Watch this. You just move with your fingers. I'm not even moving my arm so much. Go all the way to the top. Yeah. Right. So we often talk about how we use our fingers. So we could be using our fingers doing this. And just place your bow at the frog on the G and D string area. And watch my pinky push down. It's a good way to develop that flexibility. Ah, excellent. Yeah. Now, from there, you can go from to that. D string, G string. No, let's go back. Notice how you're not moving your arm. You're just moving your fingers. You're doing that perfectly. So do the same thing. Meaning, don't move your arm, just move your fingers. Yeah, excellent. Practice that, like a lot.
Okay.
A lot, 5 minutes. I mean, you can't do that for like 4 hours.
No.
But, you know, in orchestra, you can be doing this. Then you can go like, and even no one even notices, like when people are warming up. Or maybe even have those notes. You can play it this way, you know, or maybe you have these notes. For example, you can practice that. So be creative in how you practice. A teacher at Eastman named Stephen Doan, he called this practice without practicing. So say you're having trouble with a passage or a technique, but that passage or technique is really just very small, like what we just did. You know, a small movement, one measure of a piece. And so practice it without practicing means you just play it like say 100 times during the day at random moments. But you don't sit down and play it 100 times in a row. So you get your cello out and you're warmed up and you're practicing like for real, and you go, oops. Later, people getting ready and anyway, and you know the point is, if you are focused on it, you may get frustrated. It's nice to be able to sit down and practice for 4 hours and have that luxury, but you know, you're busy, you don't have that time, so maybe what you do is you spread it out over the day. When you have your cello, you try to do at least 10 times. Then the next time you have your cello is 10 times. Pretty soon you've done it 50 times. You see what I mean? That's a way of practicing. Now, the string crossing, there's not much else you could do, I suppose, except you could just contain it within one part of the bow, like. The other is to add in your fingers to this. So let's add the fingers. And for this, we're going to try to keep a steady beat. So pretend all the notes are like quarter notes or half notes. And the first thing we're going to do is add our first finger in first position to the string that we're leaving at the last possible moment, like this. Keep your arm moving. Ready? And go. Keep it moving. See how you move. Come back down. Keep moving. Yeah, so you're waiting for your finger. Instead, don't wait for your finger. Put the finger in right beat. Guess you're going like this. Don't wait. Keep moving. Ready? And move. And how about with 1 and 2? As fast as possible. It's weird. You sound like whoa. You need to tap your fingers. See? You're doing that. Like 64th notes or something. Ready? Keep moving.
Ugh.
Move it. Keep it moving. Too slow. Now with 3. What's the point of this exercise? The point is your right hand's the boss. Left hand needs to prepare before the right hand. But don't lead with the left hand. Try it. Ready? Now with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you keep working on that. Now, see if you can play this. It's a scale. 1 bow going up, 1 bow coming back, in C major. Ready, set, go. You're doing this. Lead with your right arm. So you did okay in the first 2, but you need to keep going. There's a big difference. Look at the tip of my bow. Ready? So you maybe don't worry about the sound. Don't worry about it being perfect. Worry about the motion, because once you get that motion going, then your sound will be better. But if you don't have it going, it's kind of like you're forcing your sound. So you just focus on the movement. Ready? Set. feel sorry for your left hand. Okay. You know how some people say, oh, but the poor girl, she has this and that problem. No, don't feel sorry for your left hand. You know, it's like, okay, well, catch up. Ready, set, go. Now, it sounds terrible with the left hand, but you know what? You're more relaxed, and that's where you want to start. And then once you get this feeling on being more or so automatic, then you can figure out like what's going on with your left hand to make it sound more in tune or whatever. Also with the right hand, you could start experimenting with more weight balanced on the bow, etc. Okay, so now harmonics. Well, the string crossings, we have, a lot more string crossings where those came from, and we practiced the ones that go. Right. Anyway, so we have a whole bunch of those possibilities, and we also have an etude, like easy ones by Schroeder. There's one that goes like. So these are, you could do that etude, or now we have the harmonics. Let's go to the fourth position. In the fourth position, let's play 1, 3, 4, 2. And let's go on to D string, just play. Notice it's like a bell sound, meaning I really feel that wiggle. And then I release it by playing this faster bow. Ready? Go. 1, 3, 4, 2. Good. G string. Ready. Go. C string. Try less bow speed on the C string. Ready. And. Oops, you stretch. Fourth finger, you stretch. Ready. Go. Again, 2, 3, 4. Watch my bow. Just be a bit careful because you're skidding off the trajectory or the rail, so to speak, the track. Ready? And. Now A string, 1, 2, ready, go. Bridge. One more time, ready, go. One finger at a time. Again, 2, 3, 4. You're doing this at the edge. Watch my arm. Raise your profile. So, instead of doing that, raise. Just go up. You didn't have the articulation, but wasn't it easier? Try it again with a little more articulation. Ready, and. Again, go. Again, 2, 3, 4. maybe we talked about the extensions.
Mm.
So in this position, the fourth finger and then the first finger extended is the same harmonic. You try. So we'll go to the D string. So the fourth finger is the C, very flat, right? So, and then this is also a C over the G sharp A flat by the bridge. One finger at a time. Stretch. Now, if you put both fingers down, get the same pitch. Oh, not this way. Every time you do this, I feel like you're also like doing this with your thumb.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of your thumb problem than your first finger problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just see.
Should I let it go?
We are the champions. Right. This word number one. Right? Too far. Yeah. Now together. Together. Yes! So now, let's play 4, 2, 1, 2, the extension. Again. 4, 2, 1, 2.
No.
One finger at a time. You're stretching your second too far. So there are only a few things. One is your finger's in the wrong place. Two, your bow is in the wrong place. Or also the bow could be going too fast. So bow speed's a little slower than yours.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. It's super, like, close.
Mm-hmm.
You only moved, I mean, you hardly even moved, but it made a huge difference in a harmonic.
Mm-hmm.
So this is proving my point that if there are certain harmonics that correspond pretty close to where your finger should be. They're not exactly in tune with what you hear when you have a stop note. Like this one. But in some cases, like the one we just played, there's a harmonic. Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, did you hear it afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear that high pitch?
Mm-hmm.
So these harmonics, by playing them, they get in your ear and then you learn to recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
Kleinoke had a lot of students, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And so, did it ever happen to you that you met someone outside of school, like maybe even now, and then you're like, oh, you went to Kleinoke? What? Oh, really? You graduated in the same class? You didn't even see them. It's quite possible that you didn't see that person or didn't recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
And but if it ever happens to you that then, like, once you meet that person and you see them the next day, it's like, hey, there you are. I think they're always there. It's just now you know who they are. Like you're looking for them somehow. Like as they pass through the halls, and you recognize them now. But they were there the whole time. You ever thought about that? I think it's strange.
Yeah.
But I think that same thing happens when we learn. And once you can hear these harmonics, then you play a note and you can hear those same harmonics, being triggered by a note, like the middle C, for example. E. This B flat and E D. Hear it. Or this B flat. hard to find, but some are more difficult. So anyway, no problem. You don't have to destroy our studio. We don't have to find all of them, but it's kind of fun to find them. You notice that when you play with a slower bow, is easier. Okay, next we have the ringing tones, and so I would suggest you start with the actual system this way, and then. Right. So today, let's find 5 Gs, like telephone companies. So we have here. Well, you tell me where they are. They're in a similar way. It's the G above middle C.
Okay.
There are 5 of them. It's the same pitch, not a different octave G. The same pitch. So tell me where they are.
One's here.
Yeah.
One's here.
Yeah. You can play if you want to just kind of figure it out by playing where they are.
Okay.
Those 2 are correct. Good. That's 3 of them. There are 2 left.
That's a lot.
You're like, oh my God. Think about it. Too far. Too far. Ah, that's number 4. We need 1 more. Too far. That's the C. Too far. Too far. Too far. You know what? There's 1 more.
Is there?
You go to the beginning of that harmonic system you showed me today. No, not that.
Oh, this one.
No, not that. Harmonics.
Oh.
Play it. Scratch. There it is. Those 2. So we have 6 of them.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, try it. Put a thumb there. The next one. Thumb.
Oh, God.
Too far. Third finger right across. Too far. Keep your thumb straight across. Is that difficult to do? Look. Just keep it. And first position. Yeah. 6 of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so we discovered 6. Cool. So that's, you could do the C's, you could do the G's. Another thing to add. What about D's? So we have this one. This one. This one. I think that's it. Because there's no. That's an octave higher. Thumb, stretch, and then 4th position, first finger, D string, G string. 4th, first, yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think that's all we have. Now, if you did this one. 6 of those. Is your mind like?
Yeah, that's
Right. Now, what is this good for? Well, It's, I was talking to Kelsey about it. We were building a map in our brain, a map of the fingerboard. And you can do that by being ling and practicing 40 hours a day. And people do that, practice a lot. They just figure it out. They know it. Or you could just like be curious. It's like, if this is here, then maybe this is here. You understand? It's like you just go to the next step of your curiosity. And if you could play a melody here, you don't have to play up there. But knowing that where the notes are gives you confidence of that position you're in. Because when you're in a position here, understanding where all the notes are plus their extensions, even if you don't have to play it, you're just more confident. You're happier, and if you're happy, everybody else is happy. You make the world happy. But it's serious. It seems like a lot to know. But have you ever given a presentation and you knew everything about that subject, and you were nervous, but like by the end you're like, wow, I did it. I felt good. I knew everything. And your teacher even asked you some weird question, and you knew that question. You know, like a random question. It's like, oh no, that was a mistake. It was actually published in blah 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 blah, and then they republished it blah blah blah, blah, and then they went back to the original blah blah, and then they have it edited. Like, you know, like you would know like every step, right? And so. And your teacher's like, okay, shut up, okay, you know it, right? You know? So, but the point is, that's how we should feel in a position, even with one note. It's like, I know where the G sharp is. I'm not going to play it because it's not in the music, but that's how much confidence you should have. And so these little games help us to understand it. They also have another meaning. One is to waken your hearing, like your sense of listening to this undercurrent of harmonics that we have. If we're playing with lots of in a string quartet, like a string quartet that rehearses with each other every day, they're professionals, then you become used to how the other person plays, and you play together as like one instrument. So same with a pianist. So anyway, now we're talking about expanding these 7 things. Then we have the scales. So in scales, you have your book, you have broken thirds, you got arpeggios, there's a whole other book with double stops. Understand?
The Bible.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of things you do. Now, what should you do? Well, I would suggest you do as much as possible, and feel like, because if you feel like you're behind, or that you could have been doing these things earlier, well, that's fine. I mean, time is gone. You can't bring it back. But in the meantime, you could develop a system based on these 7 steps that is totally your own. Meaning you could add, take away, you could expand, contract. What's important though is, I think, is the knowledge of where all these things are. And so maybe someday you don't need to do the arc of the bridge, and you could do away with that. And the harmonics, so you could expand those. You could do more pizzicato bows. You could do pizzicato bows with harmonics. You know, so combine a couple of those steps. I think the step that is most important are the scales. So that you have to expand it and not take it away or contract it. But there's at least a baseline that you could say, okay, today I only have time to warm up like 5 minutes. And that's fine. Some of those days happen frequently, especially at the end of the semester when you have a lot of rehearsals and papers and stuff due. But you could just do a very quick warm-up. And these 7 steps could help you understand that. Okay, so we have repertoire. Let me see over here. So we have Vivaldi. So which Vivaldi is the B flat? You want to look at it a little bit?
Sure.
Got a few minutes. Okay. I'm going to start sitting over here. Last year, one of the teachers, who's not here anymore, Dr. Cook, he moved to Nebraska. He was observing me because sometimes I was not tenured last year or year before. Yeah. So this year I'm tenured, which means they can't fire me unless I do something like hit you in the head with a cello or something, violent, or embezzle funds, anything that's naturally a crime. Also, the state could just say, like, we don't need any more music. They cut everything, for example. I guess anybody could lose their job that way. And so, but he did give me a really good critique, and we all need critiques and reviews. I think it's a good idea. We're not alone, and when we think we're alone, we should just try to get reviewed in whatever situation we're in, because it helps you. And this is one thing. Sometimes you think you know what you're doing, and then someone has a good idea better than yours, or enhances your already good idea. So it's a good idea to just pay attention to what people say. This is just Dr. Science life lessons. Pay attention to the other person. They may know what they're talking about. Anyway, I was sitting over there, and he said he thought it was intimidating that I was kind of distant from the student. He's a bassoonist, and so they sit really close together like this, and so there's no bowing problem. There are other problems, but there are no bowing problems. But I think he was right. I kind of like this proximity. Our room is long and not wide, so I can't be like facing you exactly. But this is the next best thing. Plus, it looks better on the camera. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because you can see both my
you
hands.
too.
Because sometimes you don't see my left hand.
Yeah.
Because my big face is in the way. Okay. All right. So you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just had to look what's going on here. Make sure that's G. That's a 1-3. So B flat, B flat. So I would play it. See, 1, 3, 1, shift 2. So when you see a line like this, it's when you have to take it with a grain of salt. We could see the original and see what Vivaldi did. I think there's a manuscript here. I don't know if it's Vivaldi's handwriting. I'm sort of suspicious.
It is a long slur.
So here is, oh, this is a Venetian copyist. I don't know who that is, a Venetian.
Yeah.
These are facsimiles, the first edition, supposedly, from 1740. So let's look at who this one. Okay, so here is the first sonata. Here is the second one. Here your sonata. So these look about the same. But this one, what's there? This is a weird little squiggle, right? So we have one note, then whatever, 8 slurred, and then a squiggle, then a trill. What does that mean? Does that mean that this should have gone all the way over here? I don't know. But definitely, so no, this is 1 plus 7 plus 1. I don't know, is that a regular bowing? It looks strange. It looked like it was just like he was in a hurry. He's like, whatever, just slur it. So maybe you could slur this whole thing, and then this could be 3 slurred or separate. Right. Now, these manuscripts may tell us only half the story. Let's go to the first edition, which looks like this. Right. So let's download this one. There it is. I think this means trill. See, this is kind of a cool slur. This is separate. So they said separate. I mean slurred, separate. And they put a sharp there, but it's a natural. So this is interesting. This has the figured bass. So if you're a harpsichordist, this is what you read, and you fill in the rest. So it's nice to have this. Maybe I should send this to you, so you could read it.
Alrighty.
Now these are the kind of things that you want to practice. I mean, practice meaning study. And what do you study? You're studying it. You're like figuring out what are your options.
Mm-hmm.
So we're running out of time, but just we're going to hear it again. I want you to think about Largo and our idea of Largo today being a lot slower than maybe their idea of Largo, meaning of Vivaldi's time. It does sound a little slow. 1, 2, 3, 1, E and a 2, E and a 3.
Okay.
Maybe like that. 1, 2, 3, 1, go. So that'll be about here.
70.
It's pretty close. Maybe 70, 72. Bum, 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 bing, bum, bum. Maybe let's do 72. Sorry. At least if you're like 50 something, let's do 70.
Okay.
So if you're like 68 to like 74-ish, probably okay. Okay, I'm going to get a drink of coffee.
All right.
One of those days.